The US dollar index settled at 105.30 on early Friday, and the market switched to a waiting mode for new comments from the US Fed Reserve. In the past week, Fed policymakers triggered waves of volatility on the chart of the US dollar and other currencies. And the economic calendar for the next week includes speeches by Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester as well as US Fed Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. They will speak on May 13 and 14 respectively. The coming week looks very eventful in terms of economic data. Let me remind you what reports will be in the focus of market participants in the first 3 days. You are watching the video traders calendar. The Business Confidence Index for Australia will be published on May 13. The indicator takes into account the general state of the country's economy, business conditions, retail sales, employment, wages, and of course, inflation rates. Considering that the indicator left the zero zone and reached 1 point in March, the odds are that the index will meet expectations in April. According to flash estimates, the business sentiment index in Australia should have doubled. It's expected to rise to 2 points. If so, this will benefit not only the Aussie dollar but also the New Zealand dollar. A survey on economic sentiment in Germany will be released on Tuesday, May 14. According to forecast, the appropriate index is expected to grow by more than 2%. As the main Eurozone's economy and the world's third largest economy, Germany has great weight among other leading countries. Most analysts predict an improvement in economic sentiment in Germany in the next 6 months. Such prospects are bullish for the single European currency. Therefore, a positive report will give a fresh impetus to the euro in the confrontation with the greenback. Besides, investors are anticipating reports of a major importance early next week, namely factory and consumer inflation reports for the United States, and the first one will be available on May 14. Moreover, the forecast for the US Producer Price Index looks modest. Both the PPI and the core PPI are expected to remain at the previous levels of 0.2% in April from a month ago. Analysts project an increase from 2.1 to 2.2% in the annual terms. And in this case, the US dollar index will rise because the US central bank will be poised to give up the policy of ultra-tight interest rates later than anticipated. A day later, on May 15, the report on consumer prices will be released in the United States. According to forecasts, the consumer price indexes should have dipped by 0.1% in April, both general and basic. Given that annual inflation rates recorded an increase of 3.5% and 3.8% respectively in March, a drop in these metrics could be a clear dovish signal for the Federal Reserve. In turn, the US dollar will begin to lose ground. It will be interesting to see how retail sales perform in the US economy. The growth in March stood at 0.7%, but April forecast a slashing by more than a half and set at 0.3%. Bearing in mind that retail sales reflect consumer demand in the country, then the sharp decline will be one of the signals of a slowdown in the US economy. And in this case, the US dollar will also lose its footing. On the same day, on May 15, the weakness of the greenback may be clearly manifested versus the euro. Firstly, a report on the GDP in the European Union will be published. The Eurozone's economy has expanded since the beginning of the year at its fastest pace since the third quarter of 2022. So, the optimistic forecast, which expected GDP growth in the euro area by 0.4%, if confirmed, will act as a catalyst for the single currency. However, the growth impulse for the euro may be nullified if a forecast about EU industrial production are confirmed. This indicator jumped by 0.8% in March, but it's expected to sink by 1% to minus 0.2% in April on a month. The report looks also gloomy in terms of the annual dynamic. Industrial production plunged to minus 6.4% in March. Analysts project a twofold increase and reaching a level of minus 3.2%. How will going to be in the short term in financial markets, we will definitely tell you in our regular news releases. Don't miss them. Subscribe to our channel and follow news with us. So see you online soon.